so that you can understand who we are and what we're about. And then I think the context of the PMP initiative is going to become pretty clear. I'm going to try and I'm just going to run through it real quick. So if you'll allow me. Our board, this is the Kenya chapter board, and we really are a board of equals because we are all volunteers. Earlier on this year, we welcomed and we invited Ike so that he could come and kind of help us set expectations. And, you know, when we are in the beginning, it's a storming and a norming stage. And he really helped us to kind of understand what was the role of the board and helping us to set the expectations. So it was very helpful. On this call, I think I saw Lynette. Lynette is our VP for Marketing and Communications. Thanks, Lynette. And we got a few apologies from the rest, but greetings from this whole team. The Kenya chapter, we were registered in 2012. I think I'm supposed to put on my my video. Hold on, let me see whether I can do that. Well, forgive me for that. We were registered in 2012, chartered in 2014. We consider ourselves one of the fastest growing chapters in Africa with over 420 registered members. In fact, we are probably closer to 450, if not more. Right now, we have a lot of active special interest groups, and
Hello, Jean.
hi, Anthony.
Yes, I think we lost you there for a while.
Yes, I've just lost power, so hopefully we can get some stability here. I don't know what has happened. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can see your slides. Yes, perfect.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry about that. We're on generator now, so hopefully it can stay a little bit. I was saying that we have active special interest groups in PMI Kenya. We have the credential seekers, which is really groups, a lot of the people who we have set together who are trying to get the PMP credentials. I'm very excited about the Women in Projects, which we launched in May of this year. And this one is a group where we've put in women and trying to build their talent in project management because they have unique skills and unique challenges. And then we also started Agile Kenya in the third quarter, and we've maintained a built environment special interest group because we've seen that there's a lot of construction, a lot of people in this particular industry that are interested in project management. So we've been running a lot of buzz groups, and we'll show you a little bit more about them later. Our vision is to make project management national competence and a valuable profession. In fact, you'll find that a lot of what we're doing here is very linked to the department that I'm running, which is the education and professional development. Our mission is to promote and advance the professional and science of project management and to provide leadership. And there's a lot of room for us to make an impact in Kenya because a lot of organizations are beginning to realize that project management is really a core competence. And so they're looking more and more towards PMI and us as a chapter to kind of provide leadership in that. In terms of the certifications at the PMI Kenya chapter, 54% of our total registered numbers are credentialed, and 92% of those are in the PMP category. And so we've been trying to grow a lot of the other categories, which you can see on the side there. We've got 2 PGMPs, and we've started a concerted effort to try and get more program managers. We can do a little bit more on the CAPM. We've got the risk or the RMP, and because of our agile group, now we're expecting that we can be able to build up the ACP credentials. So that's just a glimpse of some of the certifications in our group. Just to touch on a couple of winning projects that we have in Kenya, the M-Pesa, which is a mobile money service, put us on the map and put us into PMI by being one of the most influential projects in 2019. I think there were about 1,000 projects that were in competition for this, and the M-Pesa won. And the M-Pesa is a product that is run by Safaricom, one of the largest telcos in Kenya. Just looking at what Sunil said, the president and CEO of PMI, that this recognition reflects incredible progress we've made in project management. It shapes, helping to shape our world and through the hard work of bringing ideas to life. And this was very true for us, especially with M-Pesa, because as soon as, the M-Pesa and Safaricom are very project management driven. And they have continued to build a lot of projects around this particular project. And one of them is this one. It's very difficult to talk about Kenya without talking about us as long distance runners. Everybody recognizes Kenya as long distance runners. So our hero here is Elliot Kipchoge, who did the Ineos, and he ran his marathon in less than 2 hours. And in fact, for us, when we look at it, this innovation and this kind of ideas and this kind of initiative of running and breaking, it is like a project, breaking time records and setting his history with world records. It is very much a project. And for us, we consider Elliot as not only the guy who puts Kenya on the map by doing unbelievable feats in running, but also, bringing ideas to life. And you can see that the Safaricom, the M-Pesa, they changed, as a result of this, they changed the M-Pesa logo for a couple of days there so that we could just appreciate Elliot, who is one of our champions or our mashujas in Kenya. So that was very special for us. We can't go without actually also highlighting the Youthquake, which was one of the winning projects for PMI Kenya, put us on the map during the PMI Africa conference. We had Angela Mwangi, who emerged as a winner of the challenge. And we see the youth reshaping project management and leading Africa project, the Africa project economy. So this one was very good for us. And it was the PMI EF is ran by Janet Buller. And she's the one she's a green thumb. And so we do a lot of thing and a lot of outdoor activities because of Janet. And we're impacting lives. PMI Kenya really does a lot of impacting of lives through not just tree planting, but we've also done soccer and initiated a lot of education activities through this foundation. So now let me go through, let me tell you the story about our PMP initiative and how did we do it, what was it about, and how did we manage to go through it. When this idea came, when the PMP initiative was brought to our attention by the Africa chapter, there were a couple of considerations that we had to look at. And one was, what is the member value? Is this going to, are we going to be adding any member value to our members and our potential members? And we also looked at it as a team. Are we going to be able to do this as a team? What effort is it going to take? And when we decided to do it, we just decided, let's just go for the results and see what we can be able to do. So there were about 4 areas that we looked at. We also looked at how it fitted in the chapter goals, how the PMP initiative fitted in the chapter goals. And at the beginning of this year, we had a planning session or a strategy planning session with the board, where we laid out our goals and what we're going to, our vision for the year. And so this coming in now, again, we had to kind of look at it and see where does it fit. And so from a chapter perspective, we look at membership, retention, and growth. And there's a lot of linkages between the 3. And when we look at the professional development side of it, we came up with empower, promote, and entrench as our goals, where we are empowering the individuals to be effective project professionals, where we are promoting project management knowledge and standards to advance the profession, and where we are entrenching project management as an indispensable competency. And so we decided that actually, if we do the PMP initiative, it's going to be able to help us meet all these objectives or all these goals for the chapter. When we looked at the context of where we were coming from, we saw that, project management maturity levels in Kenya, they've been growing. It has probably not been as rapid, but it has been very, very notable that a lot of organizations are beginning to look at project management as a necessary competence in their organizations. And then what we have is that we've got a lot of youth, students who are graduating from the universities. And for them, they come in with a lot of steam and they meet conservative and, a lot of maybe some political technocrats who are not very quick to embrace the project management discipline. And so you find that actually the movement of the uptake in a lot of the established organizations is not as fast. And then we also saw pandemic measures which came in. Remember, we kicked off in February and we had already started hearing about the pandemic. And then when the curfew measures came in March, it really put a stop to a lot of things it was a shock. I think just in the same way that it was a shock, probably to a lot of your chapters. And we saw curfews. We had curfews at 9 p.m. We couldn't have any more study meetings, couldn't have any chapter meetings. And then the reliable IT infrastructure, which today is manifesting itself also in terms of power, was some of the realities that we had to, that we were looking at, that we had to face during that time. And then we have what we call Kenyan peculiarities. And in fact, we have a book about Kenya, the peculiar Kenyans. And if you've ever watched the Lion King, you'll know that there's a song called Hakuna Matata, which means no worries. And actually, the Kenyans are very, very laid back. You know, we don't rush. You know, time is when it's going to come. There's no hurry in Africa. We stay put. You know, and at the same time, we have a high level of curiosity and a very high academic level, because you'll find a lot of people studying. A lot of the people who are out of jobs in Kenya are people with master's degrees. And the Kenyans are always reading. But at the same time, this is countered with a fear of failure. And so we found that there was a big mix that we were coping with, because the PMP exam it is very well known for being a very hard exam. And so there were very many anxieties that can we do it was a question that we had to deal a lot with. And then there were also REP challenges. I think even in the past, we've been talking about ATPs and REPs, and it was not very clear to us what the exact role was. It was a bit muddy for us. And so historically, we've had a low chapter involvement in training and education. And we found that actually this is an area probably where when the PMP initiative came in, we were not as ready from a structural perspective. Service through volunteering. Sometimes volunteering, it's very hard to set expectations for people who are volunteering. There's a lot of sometimes embracing servitude and willingness to give support in time and effort is not as easy as it looks. And you'll find that people are more tuned to giving their time for where they're getting paid. And so this one was going to be something where we were looking for people who are willing and committed. And we had to also apply out of the box thinking, where we were overcoming some of the limitations that we had, especially from a training perspective. If we didn't have training indoor, structures, could we be able to maybe work on collaborations and so on? So those were some of the issues that we thought about even as we were agreeing to take on the PMP initiative. So some of the lessons, and one of the lessons that we learned, especially was in the area of prioritizing member value. It was critical for us that the incentives worked for our members. And I remember when we were talking with Anthony and George and Nelson, we really negotiated on the fees, because our situation in Kenya is that a lot of our members are self-paying. They sponsor their fees, they sponsor their exam, and giving them a big amount, having a big amount in terms of $500-600 would have been unreachable for a lot of our members. And so when we came up with the number, with the figure of 480 and the numbers that you can see, it was great, because then that means that we could be able to sell it to our members, and they could see that it was affordable. The chapter also added free membership as a bonus incentive, and I believe by the time we're doing this this talk, I think we've hit the 500 club, because we tried to promote the chapter membership, and as a result, I believe that we have grown our chapter membership through this PMP. We also negotiated discounted training rates with our training providers. There was a reliance on the REPs, but we also looked at other training providers who could work with us and give us good rates, so that we could give our members a full package. And because Kenyans can be peculiar, so we were not very clear about how many people can be interested, would take up, how the uptake would be, but we still went with it because member value is really core to our strategy. Our second lesson is very much about it takes a team effort to deliver. And so when we launched the PMP initiative at the AGM, at the annual general meeting in February 2020, we talked about this initiative. We had a banner, we had everything going, and you can see in that picture that the whole board was supporting the initiative, and we wanted to get buy-in and support from the members and the core teams. We established some focal points, and actually what we did, the early bird registration, what we launched as the early bird registration was a first cohort of about 15 or so people who came in, who enrolled to be kind of like the inaugural group for the PMP initiative, which was very exciting. And then from this point, actually, it was just setting the ball rolling. So this is the first group that registered, and they said, yep, we are interested in doing the PMP for this reason and the other. And what we did is that we continued following up with them and inviting them to the workshops. So that was a good kickoff for us as a team. One of the other lessons that we learned was applying a do what it takes effort to get the initiative done. And I'm telling you, the effort, it turned out to be bigger than what we expected, but it was very fulfilling. And so we communicated we simplified the communication in terms of what are the incentives about. We did a PowerPoint presentation, a lot of presentations about what the PMP program was about. We sent a lot of visuals. We did a lot of flyers so that people could relate to it. We also posted it on a lot of our channels, as you can see there on the PMP awareness poster. We were on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we were on our website, and we were also in LinkedIn. And those are some of the platforms that we're using. We also relied a lot on the PMI Africa team. They were great support. They're the ones who were setting up our webinars and also promoting us on their platform. So we did as much as we could in terms of trying to communicate. One of the things that we realized that we needed to do was to invest in persistence. We really had to stay with it. And month on month, we decided that actually we're just going to integrate this PMP initiative into the normal chapter calendar. And so for every activity that we were doing, we also did a sub-activity in the Africa PMP initiative, as you can see there on the left side. And so we were doing about 2 workshops a month. And we were doing it in, every 2 weeks we were doing something, or at least have one PMP workshop per month. And what we did is that we decided not to focus on the attendee numbers. Even if there are five people who are going to register, ladies and gentlemen, those are 5 people who are interested. So it can't be that you're going to look for a membership or a registered attendeeship of 20 people so that we can have the webinar. We decided even if there was going to be one person, we were going to talk with that one person. And actually some of the smaller groups, they were very good because they were intimate conversations and we could have a one-on-one discussion with what they were going through. They could ask as many questions as they wanted. We made the forum very interactive and it really worked out. We also turned lemons into lemonade because when COVID came and they put us under curfew, actually that was an opportunity for us to have more evening sessions. And so we started running more sessions in the evening from 6 to 7, more frequently, and because everyone was at home. Instead of being out and about now, they were doing more reading. And so we took advantage of that. And then we came up with a tagline of make your day count. As you can see on this one, make your days count in May. Then in June, we do make your days count in June. And so it became a kind of a running theme for the members. And, at the end of the day, we would ask them, how have you made your day count? So we really tried to kind of mobilize a lot of the members into this and make it a momentum. And then the other thing that we realized is that we needed to be available. I can't tell you how many telephone calls are fielded. With the same as with the other members of the board. A lot of people with many questions about how do I do this? How do I get the discount code? How do I apply it? What amount? Even if you do the presentation, you still get the questions. And so we realized that we really needed to be available. And a lot of that really, it made a really big difference in terms of communicating, informing, and equipping. So this is when in July we make our days count. We put in a lot of activities, put out a lot of visuals, and that's how we were going. As part of what we need to do to make it work, we created a WhatsApp community, a very strong community of like-minded persons with PMP goals. And it became a place for networking, just giving encouragements, accolades, information sharing, place for job postings. And I can tell you that we've got almost, you can see 4 groups there that we've already created, PMIK credential seekers. The first group ran out of space. It can take only about 257 or 267 members. So we created a second group. And then we also, once you graduate from the credential seekers, you get into the credentialed members, and then you have different conversations on that one. And then we also have built environments. And in total, we have about over 800 PMI members that we are talking to from a day-to-day perspective, on a day-to-day basis about PMP. And a lot of people are just joining through the links. And then what we did is that we also, we created an ecosystem of credential seekers and trainers. So we added the trainers into these groups, and what the trainers were doing is that they were mentoring and coaching. They post a lot of practice questions. And I'm telling you, this has become almost like a 24-hour mini study center. That's what happens on these groups, is that the trainers are posting these questions, and you find that there are very different ways that people are receiving the questions and answering them. And then they'll ask, but why was it not C? How come it was not A? How come it was A? And so a lot of the times what people were doing is that it became a revision center. And even up to now, we're still having a lot of activity on our WhatsApp groups where people are exchanging a lot of why was this way and helping people to understand. And then when it comes to, congratulatory messages, you find that they're thanking the people who've been supporting them. One of the other methods that we also introduced was this one about storytelling. And so we used a lot of the stories from people who've been there before, they've taken the exam. And I can tell you that the stories have been so compelling. We had people we've had at least one case where we had the person failed it twice and they just wanted to give up. There's another person who said, I didn't realize, I realized I didn't have a study plan. And so everybody comes out of there with, you know what, I need to get a study plan in order. And there were very many questions that you get because people's experiences are more compelling than us just talking about the facts of PMI. And so we brought in husband and wife groups. We brought in people who over-prepared, people who've experienced a Proctor online exam, because we realized that there were a lot of challenges on that part. So we brought in people who've done it successfully and also people who've had maybe some issues, so that a lot of the questions that the members needed to be answered were answered through stories. And we felt that this one really, really worked out because people started now, you connect very much now with the stories. At the end of the day, everybody who is passing this exam on the WhatsApp group, the one thing that they all say is that it's doable, it's possible. So everybody gets challenged and they're like, okay, now let me just take the exam. So it is very, very fulfilling when you see the kind of stories that are coming out. One of the ways that we also helped our members was actually in advising them about scams. And so we found that there was suddenly a flurry of boot camps, 3-day, 2-day. And this one you can see even there's some in minutes. And we told them there is no way that you can be able to cover the information and the revision and the study in such short space of time. And you will just be, you need to be a little bit more diligent to make sure that you're getting full value. And so what we did is that we pointed out a lot of some of these things, some of the adverts that were coming up, and we found a lot of people to ask us, is this good? Can we go with this? And this is why actually we created a team of training providers and friends of the chapter who were authorized and who could be able to help people we could speak to, or we could vouch for the kind of work that they were doing. And so we ended up channeling a lot of people to the groups that we work with. And this way we were assured that the members were getting full value. So this was a big area for us. It was kind of not an area that we had anticipated, but it became an area where we were providing advisory to a lot of our members, because they would call and ask us, where do I go? Which company, should I trust this company? And then the trainers that are in the groups, they were able to also answer a lot of those questions. So how well did we do after all of that? And for us, what we got a lot of satisfaction in the chapter by the increase in credentialed members, the increase in chapter memberships. We really built a stronger project management community, and the networking. It was really, really, we could see that there was a lot of growth and a lot of personal relationships that were created. We also increased awareness of the Project Management Institute and the chapter and project management. And then we realized that we still have a way to go, and we can be able to do a lot more. And so what we did, as you can see from our chats there, we had a period when COVID just completely, stemmed our activities. And you can see in April, we were all in horror and shock, because in Kenya, the first COVID case was announced on the 13th of March. And from then everybody was in, I think everybody went deathly quiet, because we also had to figure out how we were going to do the chapter meetings. And so by the time we turned around the situation and we had come up with ways of handling the government public health measures, you can see that actually in April, there was nothing. May, we ended up having maybe a couple, but after that, everything shot up. And in July, we had actually one of our best months, because we really pressed to have a lot of, to get a lot of people encouraged and using now the new platforms for the webinars. Since that time, and we're still doing a little bit more, we're still getting passes every week. And so we've managed to increase at least, we've gone up from January all the way to November. We've got increases in the number of people who are credentialed. What could we have done better? Yeah, we realized that there was a lot of untapped opportunity, especially in the area of region. Those of you who might have seen our poster during the International Project Management Day, we collaborated with our East Africa community partners, our sister states, and we were with Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and it was such a great collaboration. And we realized that actually we should have done this all along. And so I feel that maybe this was an opportunity that if we had discovered, if we had leveraged it a little earlier, probably we would have been running workshops with a little bit more creativity, also just, plugging in people into whichever workshop was available. And actually, when you look at some of our data, and I'll show you what our data was showing, is that we did get some international participants from our registrations. And so we got from India, we got from Rwanda, we got from Dar es Salaam. So where we were able to get the communication out, we were able to attract people from around the region. The second one is on the exam preparation workshop. This is an untapped opportunity for our chapter. And as you can see from the Islamabad chapter post, I borrowed that from the internet. For them, they were organizing the PMP exam preparation workshops. And this is an area that we could have also probably exploited if we had the structures, but we didn't. And that's because we've had a relatively a low involvement in training, like I mentioned before. But this is an area where for us, we can really leverage on this. And I saw that our brothers in West Africa, also our sisters and brothers in West Africa, they've taken the opportunity based on some of the information that they've provided, that actually they do a lot of workshops in the chapter, and it's good revenue, and it's very good activity for the chapter. And I believe for us, we've been relying a lot on the training providers, but this is an opportunity that I believe that we can exploit going forward. I want to talk a little bit about the data, because going forward, we saw that we can see that we can leverage data and it can help us grow. What we do when we are registering for any webinar, we have a registration form which collects quite a bit of information from the attendees. And that's where actually a lot of this information is coming from. And you can see that for us, our industry sectors, the very top graph, are in the built environment. We've got a huge following in the built environment. And this is an area, and what we do is that we ask them which sector they're from, how did you hear about us, which location are you at, which company are you with, are you public, private, and which particular sector are you, and so on. And so we've managed to collect a lot of data for more than 400 registered participants. And what we've done is that we have mined that data so that we can send them communications about the chapter membership, send them more communications about the PMP initiative. And so you can see the built environment right there is one of the ones which is one of the biggest sectors for us, followed by the NGO development. And this has been very interesting because we've had a big membership, a lot of interest from the NGO and the development sector, which means that, the social projects, the way they run them, projects are run fundamentally the same. But you can see that a lot of people now crossing over into IT projects outside of social projects and doing a lot more and trying to get more versatile in their project management capabilities. So it has been very good. And then, of course, the insurance, finance, and fintech, also ICT. And then we've got a big bucket there that you can see of aviation, FMCG, food, manufacturing, transport, and so on. So these are some of the areas that we can see, and engineering, where we can get a lot of foothold, and new interests you can see also in health. And then in terms of the registered members, we were running 2 sessions where it was possible, but we realized that actually, even if you have 1 session, that's okay. A lot of people do come in and register. And then the second one is almost like a bonus. So we found that, as you can see, the numbers kept on fluctuating, but on average, we were seeing that at least about 30 people or more were registering, and they would come and listen. And then from a location perspective, you can see there that about 80% was in the Nairobi. Nairobi is the capital of Kenya, so a lot of activities are happening in Nairobi. And our outreach goals to try and get people from outside of Nairobi in the key towns. This was one of our we wanted to do a lot of outreach, and because of the webinars, we were able to bring in some out of town people. So you can see. We had about 17% outside of Nairobi, and then 3% was our international attendees. So this was very helpful for us, because that means that we are continuing to improve our reach, and that means that we can grow our membership value and our retention. I just want to kind of end here on some of the reflections and perspectives of this PMP initiative for the Kenya chapter. It really was a race against time in 2020. If you remember, the deadline was in June 2020, and we were rushing until COVID came and saved us. And then they decided to extend the global PMI Global decided to extend until December 30th, the 31st, and everybody breathed a sigh of relief, and so did we. So it was good, and we are expecting that actually the kind of urgency that it triggered, maybe we can also replicate that in 2021 and see whether maybe we can get the same kind of urgency with the other credentials. You know, we don't let this the momentum get lost. Maybe we can get a couple of more incentives. Just like how Anthony introduced the CAPM and the rest of it. Maybe we can do a little bit more of that. We created a buzzing PM network, and we have a growing chapter membership. We believe that this is an unstoppable momentum for 2021. Actually, we've had so many calls, and especially as we are running, you know, the Kenyan peculiarity, we found so many people also trying to rush to the end of December. We registered a couple of more people who want to take the exam by December. Remember, this is already 17th of November. And we have now Kenyans just rushing in and trying to get registered and to do the exam by December 31st. And so I think for us, what we say is that we should be able to maintain this momentum for 2021, keep it buzzing and keep it growing so that we can encourage more people to embrace a project management discipline. In terms of our goals to empower, promote, and entrench, we reached over 700 people just by talking, communicating, and informing. And we feel that we can do more in 2021. In fact, just based on the number of groups that we have, that means that if everybody just worked, you know, reached out to one other person, we were reaching actually more than 1,000 people. And we hope that we can be able to improve the conversions so that instead of people being afraid of taking the PMP certification, actually they will feel that it is doable. And because we've triggered a huge awareness and a hunger for the PMP credential in Kenya, we feel that we can be able to do a lot more in 2021. Actually, we have seen that the project economy is already here. So in closing, ladies and gentlemen, chapter leaders, let me just say that it has been a super journey for us in PMI Kenya. We've probably been very, quite active in the last couple of years, maybe 4 or 5 years. And even as we wind up, we would just like to welcome you to come to Kenya so that you can see our beautiful wildlife and take advantage of our white beaches. The only competition we have is our people in Dar and Zanzibar. But yes, welcome to Kenya, and we hope that you've learned as much as we have in this journey. So, Anthony, that was my presentation for the group. Can I hand it, Asanteni means thank you, so maybe I can hand it over to you for the questions and answers in case there are any.
Sure. Actually, Jian, thank you very much for that presentation. Now ladies and gentlemen, we're in the Q&A section. Nelson, do you have any questions on the chat? It seems you don't have any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Anthony, we do have one question from Patricio from Mozambique.
Okay.
And his question is directed to the in terms of marketing for the PMP, the PMP marketing or the PMP initiative marketing. So he's asking, I find the WhatsApp group with PMP candidates a very interesting and powerful tool. Did you have all the 800 plus members posting on the group?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. You'll find that there are very many, when everybody, because the groups all had like-minded people. So we have got like 3 groups that are running concurrently. And you'll find that there are some who are very active going in and very aggressively asking questions. And so it opens up a lot of conversations. But it's basically moderated. Those groups are moderated by a PMI Kenya volunteer. And then the trainers are the ones that are running, a lot of the questions. And so, yes, we do get a lot of questions that are coming in back and forth. That's why I was saying it's like a 24-hour study center where everybody is asking questions and throwing answers throughout the day. And you'll find even at 1 o'clock in the morning, they're still asking questions. So I think to your question here, the marketing, I hope I answered your question. But yes, a lot of people are posting on those groups. They're very, very, very active groups.
Right. Thanks, Jen. I don't think there's any other questions, so we just like to invite. Okay, there's one asking Ayodele, asking, is it possible if I can join the Kenya PMI group from Nigeria?
That's a good one.
Ayodele, we'd love to have you. Just come on and join our groups. We've really taken advantage of the WhatsApp group because it's a very easy forum. It's free. We can be able to exchange a lot of information. It is where we post a lot of our flyers and a lot of the information about the chapter. And so it's really a very good support community. In fact, during the COVID, it was one of the areas that was helping with the psychosocial support, where you find that you're so stressed, but you just go out and blow your steam on the groups. So yeah, welcome.
All right, thanks, Jane. So we'll just welcome everyone else to feel free to unmute yourself if you have any question for Jane, and then she'll be able to take on it. In the meantime, Jane, just to check with you, did you have any challenges in what was the most, like, if you're going to say, what was the most challenging thing during the PMP initiative period, and in terms of marketing and all that? Was there anything that stood out to be very challenging, and how did you overcome it?
I think one of the bigger challenges was probably where we were trying to get everybody on the same page. Even though we were having a lot of discussions with people, trying to apply the code, I know some people got really frustrated with that. I know we lost maybe a couple of people just because we tried to apply the code, it doesn't work, but it was because they were also applying the code a little bit incorrectly. In terms of marketing, actually what you'd find also is that you can get a lot of registrations. And then you find that maybe there are fewer people who would come on the call. And that's because this level of commitment, this is where we were trying to build a level of commitment, but a lot of people also had home activities. So sometimes you're scheduled and you're committed to do the 6 o'clock call, and then you find something has come up, and so you can't be able to do it. So we had quite a bit of that, but that's why we just invested in persistence so that we could stay with it. Yeah.
All right, that's great. So any questions from the team? Any questions from yeah, just feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions.
Also, Jean,
yes.
I think the Kenyan chapter did a remarkable job in this particular initiative. And my question will be around payments, because some of the chapters have been facing challenges in payments. Did you face any kind of challenges when it came to candidates making payments in terms of maybe credit cards and all? And how were you able to provide support to the candidates?
That's a good question, because in the beginning, before the Africa chapter code was availed, what we did is that we had a workaround where so that we could they could pay the chapter, then the chapter could pay the could pay global. We found that it was a little bit challenging, but in general, no. The credit cards that a lot of people use is what they used for payment. And we didn't have that much. We didn't have that kind of an issue. So they were just withdrawing it. For us, the exchange was almost 1 to 100, which means that for $480 in Kenya shillings was about 48 or 49,000. Just in terms of what does that mean? How does that reflect? That can even be somebody's paycheck for the month. And that's why it was very important for us that actually we tried to get it down as much as possible. Some of the fees, especially for training, we managed to get discounted rates for $300. If you look at some of the training rates, they're almost $900 to $1,000, and there was nobody who was being able to afford that. And people were trying to do study by themselves. It wasn't getting as good results as they wanted. So for us, what we did is that we looked at, we partnered with collaborators, and we asked them, can you please bring down this training rate to $300? $300 is a lot more affordable, but they had to space it out. So we got a lot of help from the people who we worked with, and that made the payment section a lot easier for our members because they could pay in installments. And that was because they were all self-sponsoring, they needed that. And they were able to use their bank transfers, RTGS, and card payments. So that wasn't too bad.
Right. Thanks, Jean, for that. It's interesting that you actually mentioned that the bit about partnering with the training providers to actually bring down the fee, because this will be a very good collaboration going forward, even as the new ATP program is kicking in from January.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, any other questions from the team? Any other questions to Jean? We have about 11 minutes.
It would be interesting for us also to know whether anybody is using the same kind of, like the WhatsApp groups, and do you have maybe this revision kind of centers? I don't know whether anybody else is doing that, but we found that it's really working. We don't mind getting some lessons from anybody else who does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take it back to Anthony if there is no more questions. So Anthony, back to you.
Thank you very much, Nelson. Jean, just one last question. Did you face any challenges with the online Proctor test?
Yes, we did. Some of the issues that we got with the online Proctor, because IT infrastructure in some areas is a little bit unstable here, we realized after hard lessons that actually sometimes it is easier, and actually we encourage people to take the sit-down test. The problem that we had with the exam, and actually maybe this is an area that I overlooked, in Kenya we only have one exam center, and then and that exam center sits 4 people at any one time. So when the COVID measures came, it halved it, because they could only take 2 people at a time. And then what happened is that all the seats got filled up. And by the time we were running sessions in October and August, they were booked through December. And that forced people then now to move to online proctoring. And a lot of the experiences that we got from our members was that, sometimes they're not able to pull up the session. And then if you don't pull up the session in time, then the proctor, figures that you've either missed or you've skipped the exam, so they close it off and you lose the opportunity, and then you have to go back and pay again. And so a lot of the problems that we were having on the Proctor is actually trying to talk with customer service so that they could understand that it was not a problem of presence, because the exam, the candidate was sitting there but could not be able to access the exam. So we had to put in a lot of stories so that we can make sure, and we got a lot of lessons learned from a perspective of you need to have very reliable internet. In fact, for those who could work with their organizations that had VPNs, that was a better way to go. In terms of using also the calculator, when you go to the Proctor, you can't come in with anything. You have to show your environment. And so we told people some people got really nervous and they couldn't do the exam. And so we encouraged a lot of people who could do it manually and to go to the test center to do that. The other thing is that we don't have test centers anywhere else outside of Nairobi. So that means if you're in Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, all these other outskirt towns, you needed to drive into Nairobi. And it's about, from Mombasa to Nairobi is a 6-hour drive or a 1.5-hour flight. So there were a couple of challenges in that area. So I think the online also gave us a good opportunity for the people who couldn't come into Nairobi, but it also meant that we needed to rely very much on our IT infrastructure. So yeah, that was a big challenge for us. Yeah.
Okay. So I think if we don't have any other questions, then we've come to the end of this session for PMP best practice. Thank you very much, Jean, for taking us through what the practices that the Kenyan chapter did. The Kenyan chapter did a remarkable job, and I think upcoming initiatives for next year, I believe you guys are going to be doing even greater things. So right. Thank you very much, Jean, and I'd like also to thank the Kenyan chapters, and most of all, I'd like to thank the attendees who were able to sit with us throughout this session. I believe you've learned a lot from what the Kenyan chapter had presented. If you have any other questions, you can definitely reach out to us offline. if you have any kind of proposals or initiatives that you would like to maybe collaborate with the Kenya chapter, I think Jian is available, and you can reach out directly to me, and I can always provide you with her contact. So thank you, everyone, and I wish you all a great evening. Thank you, and bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.